Just when America has reached a breaking point with division, visionary influencer Danni Benson's "I'm Proud of You, Sis, Bro" movement taps into the pulse and heartbeat of a culture radically torn. But this loving mom's voice of reason and calm has received national recognition.
How'd you balance having your children and always traveling with the Yankee organization?
When I became a dad, I said that I would always love like a mother.
I feel like I have to try certain things or act a different way because I know some people or some kids.
So join Danni Benson as she celebrates her special guests on her show and highlights their gifts and contributions to our world.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Danni Benson, CEO, founder of I'm Proud of You, Sis. This is my show. Thank you for joining. Please like, share, follow, comment, send me messages, and anyone that you're proud of, whether it's a boy or a girl. You know, I'm proud of you, bro. I'm proud of you, sis. Please send to me. I would love to interview them. May is Mental Health Month. So I'm so excited about this guest that I have. I am the founder of Self-Love Day, and the governor approved it in New York on February 13, 2020. So my goal is, especially for our babies, to really, really look into the social, emotional issues of children, or teaching them how to deal with their social, emotional issues, because this world could be so crazy, so stimulated. Like I'm an adult and I'm doing like 50 things and my brain is like, ah! So I can't even imagine what a kid goes through. So mental health is important as physical health. Yes, your physical is important, but we all need to understand your brain is an organ also, just like your kidneys, your heart, your lungs, your liver. So your brain needs attention also, because that's where all your mental health is basically like in your brain. Your brain, it's an organ. So I want this country to start really putting money into mental health, because the smartest people in the world doesn't mean that they can make the best decisions in the world, depending on how they feel. The word feel and feelings is very important, and people need to stop telling people how to feel and allow people to say how they feel with no judgment zone, so people could be able to talk without feeling like they're going to be judged for what they feel, because everyone has their feelings and feelings should be validated, and no one should feel that they're less than someone else. But I have Judy Foster on the show. She is the guru in mental health. I love when she comes on because I learned so much from her. So I definitely want her. We're going to talk about anxiety. As you can tell right now, I'm very anxious right now because I have so many things in my brain that I have to do. But Judy's going to come on to calm me down, teach us some gems, and just talk about anxiety, because a lot of us suffer from it. Even if we're not diagnosed, we are anxious, especially what's going on in the world today. So hi, Judy. Miss Foster, how are you doing today?
How are you? Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's get on with anxiety, and which is a very important topic to talk about, because with all the to-do lists that we have, all the things on our plate, I think most of us do suffer a little bit from anxiety. So
yeah. Thank you for bringing it up too, because when we multitask, it actually causes anxiety as well when we try to get all these different things done at once. As a mom, you know that, because you're always kind of doing 5 things at once. And we all suffer from stress and anxiety. Congratulations, by the way, on Self-Love Day. I think it's great, because self-love and self-care is a little bit what we're going to talk about towards the end in treatment with anxiety. So we all experience anxiety, every single one of us, because we are human beings. It is a normal reaction to stress. And 275 million people suffer from anxiety disorder, but we all suffer from anxiety. And I think that a lot of people look at anxiety as bad, when it crosses over into the disorder part, it can be debilitating, but anxiety is actually good in a way, in some forms, because it helps to protect us. You know, when we get anxiety, our adrenaline starts going, fight or flight. I think we've all heard of that. But it's a way to protect us from dangerous situations when we start having that feeling. And I always use the example of when you're on a subway platform. You know how we're standing maybe close to the edge, or there have been things that have happened in subways that have been harmful to people. So we know, we get that feeling in us that we have to kind of look around and be aware and alert, because we don't know what's going on behind us. We don't want anything bad to happen. So that type of anxiety is good, because it's going to make us alert and walk around and look around. I like to stand with my back
Me
almost.
too. When I go to Subway, I don't even look at the edge and tip
Exactly.
over, because that
Exactly.
little tip, somebody might push you.
Yeah.
I'm always, even when I'm anywhere, I'm with a lot of crowds. My dad always taught me to have your back to the wall.
That's it. That's
You
it.
can see what's going on.
That's exactly it. And that's where the anxiety is good for us, because it helps to keep us on our toes and make sure that we're alert to any oncoming danger. So it is the most common mental health disorder, though, anxiety disorder, because we all experience it. And I wanted to go into a little bit about where it crosses the line from regular everyday anxiety and then the anxiety disorder, because there's a lot of different anxiety disorders that people suffer from and try to manage. But I want people to just off the bat know that anxiety is normal. It's not something that you should feel ashamed about having, and we're trying to normalize. Thank God we're in today's world where we're normalizing not being okay.
Yes.
And asking for help and going to therapy and all of these types of different things. So as far as anxiety itself, it is normal, and it's our brains reacting to stress and alerting you of potential danger ahead. It's a response to uncertainty. We always worry about something that hasn't happened yet in the future. Again, those things are normal, but it crosses the line where it becomes excessive and uncontrollable worry about things that haven't happened yet. And you have to have this type of worry for more days than not for at least 6 months. And it can't be contributed to a medical condition or using any type of substance. So everyday anxiety, just like how you said, you're feeling a little anxious. We kind of do feel that before we give a presentation or before a test. And so that type of anxiety is normal.
And also, like, I'm an overthinker.
Yes.
Like, I'm overthinking, and I'm trying to predict the future, and I don't even know the future, but I'm like, let's prepare. If this happens, that happens. I always have to have a plan A, B, C, and D.
Yeah. Now, but see, that's normal as long as we can stop it at a certain point. Because what happens is we can keep going and going and going until it's the end of the world. And so as long as people are still able to stop it and kind of reality check, or have a friend that kind of checks us and say, okay, you made your plan B. We don't need a plan D, E, E, F, G. We kind of just have a couple things in place. And then normally when things happen, you usually see that things worked out.
Yes, they do.
So, but it does feel good to have that plan B. That way, in case this does happen, then I'll do this. Okay, fine. But when we start that constant worry, and I think we've all ruminated about certain things that have happened. But when you're constantly worrying about something and it starts interrupting your daily life, that's when it becomes an anxiety disorder. Feeling awkward in certain situations, like if you're going on a blind date or if you're meeting up with new people, you might feel a little bit of nervousness about that. But when you start avoiding going out altogether and isolating at home because you don't want to go out and have this fear about being embarrassed or saying something that's going to sound stupid, that's when it crosses over into the anxiety disorder.
Because that's called social anxiety disorder.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And a lot of people suffer from that.
I know. I have friends who suffer from social anxiety. Like, they could talk to me all day long, but as soon as they get into a crowd of people, they just freeze.
Yes. Yes.
I thought that was being shy. I was like, are you shy or something? And they thought they were shy, but they said they've experienced this all their lives.
Exactly. Can you believe people have been suffering like this? And especially kids with selective mutism is something that can happen with kids when they go to school. They won't speak because there's this fear of embarrassment or being judged, but they're fine speaking to their friends and family at home. which is what a lot of adults have comfort feeling, at home with friends and family, but going out is a different situation. And that can cause people to have anxiety and panic attacks. And speaking of panic, so panic before a big moment, like something like this. You're going to have a normal nervous excitement. That's kind of how I like to think about it. Instead of like, oh my God, then it's a sense of doom kind of when you look at it that way. But panic attacks come out of nowhere. And I wanted to make sure that the audience and everybody knows the difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack is that anxiety, you pretty much know where it's coming from. A panic attack comes from out of nowhere. You just get these feelings, racing heartbeat, feeling of choking, feel like you're having a heart attack. Sometimes people feel like they're dying. You could be in the supermarket and they're just these feelings coming from out of nowhere and you don't know what it's about. And a lot of people who have suffered from panic attacks are afraid of having another panic attack. And so it causes people to, again, isolate, stay at home, avoid social gatherings, avoid going out. And the next thing you know, that can lead to depression as well. Whole nother subject. But the last part I wanted to talk about is phobias, which I think we all have that fear of a dangerous object or stimuli, bugs.
One of my daughters is so weird. Since she's been little, she's been afraid of spiders. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, it's not 1 minute someone wore a spider costume. The next minute, like 10 years later, she's still afraid of spiders. One of my nephews was afraid of Chuck E. Cheese, the rat.
Yeah.
We had a party for him. He was 3 years old. He stayed under the table the whole time. We're like, what is? He's like, I don't want to see the rat. I don't like the rat.
Right. Well, it could be rats, and but the Chuck E. Cheese symbolizes that. But that's what happens. And I know a lot of grown men who are afraid of spiders. Certain things we kind of hear are common, like flying, heights.
Heights.
Spiders, snakes. There are a lot of things that a lot of people are afraid of, but it crosses the line when even the thought of it causes us to have an anxiety attack. So that's different. Like I may not like flying, but just me thinking about it won't send me into having a racing heartbeat, heart palpitations, sweaty palms, nausea, and all these other feelings. So it's not a disorder, but it's just normal to think about something and be afraid of it. But again, when you're not able to go to work, when you're not able to go to school, when you're not able to socialize with friends or things that you ordinarily do that don't bring you joy anymore, then it seems like it becomes a disorder, and that's when you should see a mental health professional. And a lot of the times the treatment for this is exposure therapy. So with some spiders, maybe going to a place where they have spiders or watching it on TV first. We start very gradually so we don't shock the person. On TV, doing research on it to see that not all spiders are poisonous. Some spiders are good for the environment. They eat other bugs and things like that. And then maybe going to a place where there are spiders inside of a container or something. You can look at them. You can stand far away. Then the next time you come, you get a little bit closer. And then gradually, whatever the stimuli is, you get closer and closer and closer until one day, maybe you can have a spider crawl on your hand or whatever it is that your goal is to try to overcome this fear.
Well, I'm afraid of heights. So what would I do? Should I go bungee jumping?
Yes. Well, you're gonna go. Maybe you would watch. You may not necessarily go bungee jumping, but let's even think like an amusement park, and getting on the Ferris wheel. So
I'm afraid to get on a roller coaster. Like my kids are like, "Come on, mom," and I'm just like,
Yeah, that's what happens. But eventually, you would just work closer and closer and closer to getting to that. And even if it's standing next to the roller coaster, and then, getting on it without riding it. Each time you're going to try to do more and more and more. That's the bottom line of it. And so that's what exposure therapy is. It's just gradually getting closer to the stimuli with the help of a professional so that they can help guide you. We don't want to do things too quickly with people because that could send somebody into an anxiety attack.
So what happened with people? I know some people who are germaphobes and like COVID made them even worse. And now it's like, how you don't wear a mask no more, but they're still wearing the mask. They're still wearing the gloves. They're afraid to go outside. They still feel like COVID is in the air. When does that become? Because we went through a pandemic, so we were all afraid at one point. Yeah. When do you analyze that it's a little excessive now that COVID is basically over? I think the emergency is over May 11th.
Yeah, so the way we know that it's crossed over into that disorder is when it starts to impact our daily life. So people that are so obsessed with washing their hands or cleaning things that they're not going to work, or they're late for work because I was at home washing my hands 10 times or cleaning everything. And then I started missing out on things that I usually do. So when you're not doing the things that you normally do and it's starting to debilitate you, that's when it's a problem.
Got it. Got
Um,
so then who would recognize that? Because if I'm the one that has the problem, I'm washing my hands 50 million times. To me, it might be normal.
mhm.
So does someone else have to say something to me and say, this is are you okay? Like, how did because sometimes you have to admit you have a problem, but when you've
Yes.
been doing it for so long, you don't even consider it a problem. You consider it to be something normal that you do.
Right. It's both. It's great to have a support system of people that know you and know this isn't normally like you. You're not coming out anymore. What's going on? And so they could bring it to your attention. Or it could be if you're doing it, you might realize that I wasn't always like this. I wasn't like this before COVID. Now I'm like this. And I want to get back to that person that I used to be. I want to be that person that goes out and lives life. I mean, life is short. If we spend all of our time sitting in the house, isolating and avoiding everything, the next thing you know,
We die. We wither. We die.
yeah, years will be going by, and then we're going to have all these, the ghost of regret is what I call it, of thinking back about all these things we could have done. So it's both. You have friends that hopefully can check in on you and see and maybe bring it to the person's attention. Or we sometimes know ourselves that this isn't normal for me to wash my hands 20 times a day or to wash everything, especially, but you're right, COVID didn't help. Because when we were first going grocery shopping, people were coming home and Clorox wiping all the
Clorox,
everything.
detergent, dropping it. I've heard theories like leave the food outside.
Yes.
Like, what?
Yeah. And then the gloves, but then we're wearing gloves to touch things. And then what if we touch our face with the gloves? Take the gloves off. So it didn't help. And not going out at all, how people cope with is just to avoid everything. Let me just stay home. And that's called agoraphobia, where we just stay home because we want to avoid all outside situations because that's going to cause anxiety.
I just thought that was being antisocial or being an introvert.
Well, but the difference is, does it impact your daily life? Are you still going to work? I could be an introvert and still go to work and still go to school. But if I'm not doing those things and I'm not going to work, so now I don't have money, so now I can't pay the rent. Now I'm going to lose my housing. As you can see, it starts to affect things that I need to live and survive and maintain my life. So when it starts to do that is when it's a problem. Same thing like drinking. I can sit home and drink, but if I'm drinking to the point where I'm missing work because I'm oversleeping and I'm not going to school, that's when it becomes a problem. And the funny part about agoraphobia is just any where you're just not leaving the house because of all these outside stimuli that cause anxiety. It's really easy to stay in the house nowadays because we can order anything we want from Amazon. We can grocery shopping. Groceries can be
get it delivered to your house. Then we have DoorDash, Uber Eats. Sometimes I think like the younger generation, I can watch them. I could watch some of my nephews play a game all day long and don't leave the house. I'm like, you gotta leave the house?
Yes.
And they're fine. They're like, I'm happy here. I just ordered food. I don't need to get a car. I could just get an Uber. Like everything comes to them and they don't feel like, I guess it's called adulting. And I feel like they don't want to adult.
That's it. Because we had the arcade that we went to when we played games. I mean, we had handheld games too, but we went out to play games. Now you can play everything online. So another reason, work from home. I mean, you don't have to now, especially after COVID, a lot of companies, change their technology so that people can work from home. So now you don't have to leave home to work. And even talking to people. When we were growing up, we had to go outside to talk to people or we called them on the phone. Now, FaceTime, everything's virtual. Zoom, you just don't really have to even leave your house. And now on top of that, even going to the movies, we can stream movies that just came out last week with all these apps that are out now.
I know.
And streaming services.
So it's causing I feel like this generation, like even when we had the lockdown, a lot of the kids were fine with it because they were like, oh, we're home anyway. Because I came from a generation that we went out and play. So staying home is abnormal to me. So I would tell, if a friend would stay at home, be like, are you okay? But now that I see these kids, I don't even know if I should ask them if they're okay because they're normalizing just
Yeah.
staying at home, and plus they don't even know how to talk to each other.
Right.
So even when they don't talk, I don't know, is that normal? Not normal, because they're just used to texting.
Exactly.
Don't know how to even have an interview or interaction with someone.
That's it. Social media, you know, it has its good points. We get to reconnect with people we haven't seen in years, but it also keeps people isolated, and also talk anxiety, how it relates to social media. I mean, social media has a lot of, we look at pictures and we look at what other people are doing, and then we start to compare ourselves to it, and that will cause anxiety, because then it's like, well, I'm not doing half the things this person's doing. It causes a lot of depression too, but it causes us to judge ourselves, and then we don't want to, well, why should I go out and do anything? I'm not going to be as good as this person. Look what they're doing. They're on vacation all the time. They're in love. They're so happy. And I'm not doing
Their
half of
face
these
looks
things.
so perfect. Their clothes look so perfect. But you know what I realized about social media? Social media makes you unsocial.
It does.
I don't even know what they call social media. It really makes you unsocial, because you just have a phone. You don't have to talk. You just flip like this.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes you unsocial. It doesn't make you connect. You're not really connecting with the picture. You're just looking at it, but it's just
right. You're right. And when it comes to kids, this is their world that they grew up in. This is online, everything. So this is what they're used to. They don't know any other way. We have to go to the library and library cards and the reference number and all that. Go look for books. And now you can just go online and get the books with audio books. You don't even have to read now, because the books will read to you on the app with audio books. So the world has changed. I mean, for the better, yes. You know, we're getting further along in technology and with science, which is great, because we're finding more cures and treatment for diseases and things like that. So all that is great. But at the same time, we do have to make a conscious effort to make sure that we are still social and that we don't isolate. Because again, it's really easy to just sit in the house. We have everything we need, or we can get what we need for the most part, and not come outside.
So you know what, since we're talking about anxiety, my kids sometimes have anxiety going to school because all the school shootings that are going on. So that is like a real thing. It's a real concern, to the point that, my daughters are now asking me for cell phones. I really think they're too young to have them, but they're like, Mommy, what about something happens? So is that normal anxiety, or it's something that I have to look at to make sure it doesn't impede them doing well at school, because now they're thinking about someone coming in and maybe shooting up the place and what they're going to do next?
No, it's totally normal, because we have something to base it off of because of the things that have happened before. There are certain anxiety disorders that people, it's like a fear of something that poses no danger. So it's a little unrealistic. This is definitely realistic. So of course, this is how they're going to feel going to school. And I think it's up to each parent is going to come up with a way how they're going to talk to their child about the dangers of outside world in general and in school, and find a way to work with it, because this isn't going away, as we see.
Single day now, I'm hearing something about it. And the funny thing is, my school actually does drills.
Yes.
We had fire drills. Like, we were just worried about something catching fire. Yeah. My kids actually have drills where they have to go under the seat. They can't make any noise. I don't even know the anxiety that is, because at least a fire, hopefully you hope that everyone can just get out, right? Because there's windows everywhere. Let's jump. Let's get out. But to know that there's like an active shooter in your school, you're frozen. Yeah. Because you don't even know where it's coming from. You can't move. They tell you not to move, not to say nothing.
Yeah. This is scary. It's a scary time for kids.
So what do you think about the shooters? Is it really a mental health issue with the shooters?
I think it's a combination of several things. I think a lot of people think, well, you have to be mentally ill in order to carry out these types of acts. So I do believe that some type of psychopathy is definitely going on, but there's also other social issues that I think are bleeding over into that. It's hard to tell. And that's why I think there's a big push now with mental health being accessible to everybody. And just like how you were saying in the beginning, like how we need to get checked out with diabetes and heart disease. Mental health is also something that should be routinely screened, I think.
Screened. Because everyone is forgetting like your brain is an organ, just like your heart is an organ. You get it checked out.
Yeah,
Your kidneys, your pancreas because of diabetes, your insulin pushing in and out, less blood.
yeah,
Okay, why are insurance companies and our country
exactly,
forgetting about your brain is actually an organ? Your brain gets tired too.
exactly.
Your brain is wired to have, like, it's called serotonin, norepinephrine, like all these chemicals. And sometimes when there's imbalances,
Yes,
it affects your mood.
yes,
So
yeah.
I don't understand, like, talk to me just about the insurance part. Why doesn't this country understand that just as much money you put for heart and, going to a cardiologist, why are they putting that much money into mental health? Is it because it's not tangible? They can't see it?
It's well, and there's been a stigma regarding mental health from the beginning of time. And that is why I think it's not normalized as much. But it's getting better because there are a lot of insurance companies that through your employee assistance program will pay for free a certain amount of free sessions with therapists. So there's that. And then a lot of people's insurance companies now will cover mental health. I mean, you may have to pay a copay or something, but we have that now. And then we have platforms like BetterHelp, Talkspace. I worked for companies like that where I don't know what the fee is and whatnot, but they're out there at least. They weren't there 20, years ago or a couple decades ago. They weren't there. People just have to suffer in silence. And if you talked about it, I think we talked about this before about we sometimes grow up in communities where it's not looked at.
Yeah,
to
they think
talk
you're
about your
crazy.
emotions.
Like
Yes.
crazy. It's like if you go to speak to someone, that means you're crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not true. You're
Right.
not crazy if you go to
Right.
speak to someone.
Right. Or just talk to your business outside of the family or outside of the church. You're not supposed to do that. You don't air your dirty laundry. You don't talk about family business or your life to other people.
But also, if you go talk to somebody, it doesn't mean that you're going to be on medication. A lot of people have this
Exactly.
notion that, if I go speak to someone, they're going to put me on a drug or something that's going to even make me more loosey, and that's not true at all.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a place where you just let it all out.
Yeah. Non-judgmental, safe space. And then as it relates to self-care, it's kind of how to wrap it all up really is about treat yourself with kindness, compassion, listen to yourself. We all know ourselves better than anybody else. Listen to yourself when you feel like something isn't right. And self-care, that's why I think it's so great. Self-love day.
Self-love day, yes.
We need a self-care. Self-care should be something we do every day. It's not just go get your hair done, go get your nails done every now and then. We have to incorporate it into every day. And it includes something like, I tell people my self-care is not answering the phone sometimes.
I started doing that. I started using the focus and like from certain time.
Right.
I automatically switch it up. I say if it's important, they know my home number.
That's right.
So if you know my home number,
that's right. That's right. Like, don't answer the phone.
I have to. You got to turn off. You can't be on 24/7. Your brain has to rest.
It does. And if it's an emergency, like you said, people leave a message. I mean, if somebody's calling me repeatedly, then I might think it's an emergency, then I'll answer. But I don't need to answer the phone for a few hours. A lot of people that shut their phones off at a certain hour and that's it. Especially if you have kids, you're busy. You can't really be there for everybody and doing things all day.
Yeah, and because people do have a high expectation of everybody. And I've learned not to be offended or take it personal because it's just so much going on in the world and people are handling personal stuff that you might not even know about.
That's right.
You don't know everyone's business, and a lot of people, you don't know what's going on in their lives. So I tell people, don't make assumptions.
Right.
Please, sometimes that causes anxiety too, is making assumptions.
Yes.
Always like assuming, and it gives you anxiety because now you put things in your head that's not really there.
That's right. And you automatically believe it's true. So just, treat yourself with kindness and use these free apps on YouTube, music, those sound apps where you can listen
to. It's one of them is the Calm app.
Yes.
At nighttime.
That's it. If you need to do that for a little while and just put yourself in a space where you can calm down, doing deep breathing, practicing mindfulness, which is trying to stay in the present moment with awareness and not think about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday, right now.
Or meditation too. I meditate too.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to say thank you, Judy, so much for coming on. I'm proud of you, sis. and sharing your expertise. Please, what are your handles real quickly so people can find you?
So J Foster Therapy on Instagram. I just opened up that page actually, so you guys can find me there. If you have any questions or concerns, you can send me a message on Instagram. And I'm actually going to be working on bringing up my private practice as well soon. So J Foster LCSW is also my handle on Instagram.
Yes, find a therapist. She's an excellent therapist. Go follow her, DM her. She'll give you her business hours and how to find her. But I just want everyone to know, thank you for joining. I'm proud of you, sis. And please, it's okay to go out and seek a therapist and talk about your feelings. It's as normal as can be, especially now that we live in a world that is so crazy. Please get the help that you need so you can be your 100% me. You could be 100% you, 100% me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy, for coming on. I'm proud of you, sis. And
Thank
see you
you.
soon. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.